Beautiful. Okay, let's do that again. Welcome to our info session for fall 2021. We're going over a whole bunch of things today. Very exciting. This is the agenda. So we go over includes mission, vision, and values in the beginning. Going over what the cohort is, what we're doing in the project, what the timeline looks like, and then we'll be going over what we expect out of you and some testimonials from the past. And at the end, we have social Q&A to let you get to know the board and answer any questions you may have. How did I sound? Does that sound better? Is that crystal clear?
Not. It wasn't. It was a little bit better. It's still at the end. It kind of got bad. So maybe you can repeat yourself for the last few sentences.
Okay. We have a Q&A and social at the end of the session. And we'll be answering any questions you may have. If you want to get to know any of the board, stick around. Okay. Includes mission. So as everyone has already known, we're dedicated to fostering community and building meaningful solutions that can be applied to the real world. So basically, whatever you're interested in, whether it's tech, design, or just learning something new, join our club. We'll give you all the resources, all the experience that you need to figure out what you want to do. It could be creative, it could be a hobby, or it could be actually your career. But our goal and vision for you as members is to learn and figure out what it is that you want to do in the future. Because I definitely had a hard time when I came as a freshman. I just studied CS and I realized, is this really for me? And just meeting people, getting to know the community I include, and working on projects, that's like a great way to start because you gain the experience you need, you meet the people, and it's just a great time. So that's kind of includes mission and vision. And we have pillars this year. Our 4 pillars are community, education, innovation, and mentorship. We'll be seeing this all over our programs. Every time we do something, it will connect to these 4 pillars. Let me admit some people. Okay, thank you, everyone. Nancy, would you like to go or anyone on board?
If Nancy isn't available, I can also jump on in.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so hello, friends. Just a quick introduction. My name's Christina. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. If y'all can't hear me, please let me know in the chat because I have my eyes on it. But I'm one of the co-directors of design here at Include. I'm so excited to be here today. But basically, this slide is just to kind of introduce to the rest of y'all what exactly is product design. Because especially here at Davis with their design department, it is just so broad. You can go exploring into either UI, UX, but here in Include, especially with our design cohorts, we're practicing and really diving deep into what we call product design. And as you can see on the screen, it essentially combines UX or user experience research with UI, also known as user interface design, to basically help businesses, or as we like to call them, nonprofits, and our local community to help create solutions for very well-defined problems. That includes creating websites for our clients and for the folks who, are still kind of figuring out what they want to do, just want to explore. We also have a pioneer program that we are probably going to be exploring later on today, where you can also put this into practice.
Thank you, Christina. Next up, what is development?
Hi guys, my name is Ronak. You guys can call me Ron. I am the technical director at Include alongside Alec. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a 4th year computer science major and happy to be here. Okay, what is web development? Well, in a nutshell, whatever you see on the web, Google.com, Facebook, Instagram, these are all web development, web apps that have a front end and a back end. And just like I pointed out, there are 2 parts to web development. There's a front end. So whatever beauty, whatever you see right on your face, that's all the front end. Where each thing goes, where this is where the button is, this is where the text is, that's front end. Back end is another aspect to it. It's all the magic that happens behind the scenes. Where all the data is stored, where the user data is stored, if you guys have heard of reCAPTCHA, so that we make sure that there's no overloading of websites. It's really interesting. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with backend that a lot of people don't know about. So yeah, and last quarter, I was part of front end. I was leading the front end team, and Alec was leading the back end team. Yeah, and just to give like a sort of like an overview of what we do. We're basically annoyed at the design team 24/7. So basically, they have unrealistic expectations. But you know what? We bring their dreams. We bring their dreams to life. Okay, that's what we do. So they annoy us, but we do the job for them. No, the jokes apart though, it's really great to learn all these skills. We don't require you to be like a genius at these skills. I myself, and I can speak for Alec as well, we've learned a lot more being a director while being on the team, than like actually going to class, doing our own projects. So don't ever be afraid to ask questions or just say like, oh, I don't have the skill set. There's no such thing as that in Include. We'll teach you as long as you're willing to learn. Yeah, and just to give you a little sense of what the timeline is going to be like, Alec can take it away. Oh, never mind. Yeah.
Before we get to that, I'll just intervene 1 second. So this is the structure for fall 2021. Right here, I have listed 5 cohort members in a project. That will vary. It depends on who you will be assigned to. In the design team, there'll be less. If you're in a tech team, there'll be front-end developers, back-end developers. And on top of all of that, you will have a project manager leading that group. They'll be your mentor. They'll be managing the project timeline. They'll be doing check-ins on you. They'll give you all the resources that you need, and they will be your main point of. Yeah. So we have an education team. So our speakers, Alec, Ron, Christina, Nancy, they are our directors, technical and design. And together they'll be making workshops, resources, articles, and so much more. So all of you can learn as much as you can and figure out what you want to do and include. And then go ahead, design cohort timeline.
Nancy, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, thanks for that, Christina. So yeah, as you can see, this is the design cohort timeline. As you can, week 3, we have basically the prompt or just a problem, and we were, and during that time, we will be brainstorming the solutions and coming up with like new ideas or ways to like try to like not necessarily, of course, like solving the problem, but obviously like just learning new ways of like how can we like I guess define it. And Christina, do you want to say any more about regarding that?
Yeah, so kind of just want to reiterate what Nancy just covered. Essentially what we have in mind right now for our design cohort this quarter is basically we are going to dedicate the entirety of fall quarter for our designers to really get into the process, really understanding the problem, really understanding our client and their needs, and really just like, listing out, defining the graphic standard, making sure, we are really designing the best that we can make. And like, as you can see laid out in front of you is from week 3 to week 10. Obviously there will be, low fives, mid fives, high fives. We're also going to be going over a lot of design fundamentals. So as kind of Ron said earlier, like this is a very beginner friendly community. Come at all levels. You're also more than welcome to help the design manager as well if you want to also take a hand on in teaching. Also week 9, week 10, there's definitely going to be a lot of case studies where that would be a period of time where we look back and reflect on like really understanding what we did and why we did it, the purpose of all of this. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A or write them down in the chat now.
Thank you. Would tech team want to go next? The technical timeline.
Yeah, I'll take over for this one. I'll introduce myself first. Hi, I'm Alec, and my pronouns are he and him, and his, and I am the other technical director at Include alongside Ron. So our timeline it's going to be somewhat different compared to design, but our recruitment goes until the end of week 2. So we start in week 3. And week 3, we're going to be exploring what we want to work on. So this is where essentially we're going to be onboarding you guys, let everyone get to know each other, get comfortable. Week 4 is when we start our workshops. So this is where we're going to be able to, me and Ron will be presenting many different, they could be slideshows, graphics, just to teach you guys the whole process of development, both for front end and back end work. So we'll be starting those workshops starting week 4, but alongside that, we're going to be brainstorming on our project. So we're going to explore what exactly we want to do, how we want to do it. Week 5, we'll continue with the workshops, but this is when we finalize the decision. So by the end of week 5, we should have a concrete idea of what we're going to do. And obviously you'll be meeting with your managers who will be assisting you and guiding you in making those decisions on what you're going to work on. Week 6, we're still having workshops, and this is where you guys will start your development. So this is where you get into your teams, set up your development environment, and put those skills that you learned in the workshops to work. This is where you start. This is where you start working on your project. And again, you'll also be meeting with your managers, and they'll be setting up meetings where you guys can all work together. Week 7 through week 8, I don't know if we'll still be having workshops. We might, but what we do know is that me and Ron will have some sort of office hours. So you guys can stop by if you're having trouble with your project. This is the time where you can come in. But this is basically the part of the timeline where you're full blown just working, just grinding out the project, working with your team, talking to your manager, and then also receiving feedback you can receive feedback from anyone. You can ask me, Ron, you can ask your managers, you can, even ask the design directors, if how the website looks, if it seems like, if it looks nice, things like that. So you can receive feedback from anyone during this time period. And then week 9, still we're going to have office hours, but this is where we're going to try and finalize our things. Whatever you have done, finalize it, test your application, make sure that it does the things that you want it to do, make sure whatever you set out to do is completed, whether or not you were able to finish everything, whatever you have, just try to finish it off, and receive more feedback, receive your final comments from the directors and managers. And that's when we get into week 10, where you're going to be presenting to the rest of our community what you've been working on for the whole quarter. Week 10 is where you get to shine and show us.
Thank you, Alex. So these are the cohort expectations. Let me just check if Ayushi is here. If not, I can go ahead and present this. I don't think she's here. So Ayushi is our external. Probably meet her in one of our future sessions. But the cohort expectations, we want you to learn. So if you come in and have this desire to learn, you're perfectly fine. We want you to communicate with your direct point of contacts. I remember seeing this in the chat, but your point of contact is your manager. So if you're in the design cohort, the design manager is your point of contact. Whoever you're assigned to in that team, that is your POC, the point of contact. And then we also expect you to attend weekly. So this is entirely up to your team. You'll be figuring out what time best fits your needs, how often you meet, what work you want to get done separately, together, and then we'll be having in-person meetings, hopefully, so most of you can get to know each other in that team environment. We also want you to uphold their pillars of community, education, mentorship, and innovation. So always have that in the back of your mind, because that is the core of Include. There's no time commitment, but what you put in is what you will get out of this program. So we expect that you do what you want to do, put in as much love, put all the effort you want to put into this program, and at the end of the day, you get an amazing product and an amazing experience out of Include. Some highlights from the past. Pillars, so innovation, you gain experience working in a team, and community aspect. You're part of a community of people that share the same interests and goals as you. As you can see, we have a Discord, and everyone's just chatting away. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask your community. They might not be a project, but everyone's insight is valuable. Mentorship. You have a design manager that's heading your team. You have technical directors, design directors that are providing workshops and resources to you. So with all of this information, hopefully you can figure out what interests you, where you want to go after you. And education. You're learning from your peers. This is a team environment. So we hope that you get to learn from the people that you work with and the people that bring these resources to you. Yeah. So now we're gonna enter the Q&A session. So if you have questions, feel free to unmute or send in the chat and we'll get answering away. So let me just look in the chat right now. If we are interested in both the design and technical cohorts, is there a way for us to get involved in both? Yes, but you will be assigned to one for this quarter. If you're interested in doing technical next quarter, you would have to reapply. We want you to get the most out of this experience, so we don't want you to do two things at the same time. So whatever you want to do first, that is what you should apply to.
I believe we also had a question about communications and how that's going to be conducted within the team. I know, Ben, you kind of touched on this in terms of the point of contact. But yeah, just to reiterate, your point of contact, or if you're going to be a part of the design or tech cohort, you're going to be looking for your design or tech manager. But typically, we will be mainly using Discord. If any of the directors or my colleagues want to correct me on that, please do. But that is our main platform for messaging and communication, as well as Zoom to conduct meetings.
Yes, and for communication, if you're assigned to a cohort, we'll be using Slack. The Discord is only for community purposes. If you want to be part of that community, join. But once you're assigned to a cohort, Slack will be our main platform. There's a few more questions. Let me just try to get to all of them. Is the project for someone else a commission or is it a personal project? That depends on your application. So we do have a few clients, and that's what we've historically done as a club that is helping out nonprofits. But we are also incorporating education into this year. So if you do not get a client, that is a whole experience in its own. You're doing a project for yourself to gain that experience. And if you want to work with a client potentially, you can reapply the following quarter. How often are meetings held? So workshops, we will try to do that on a weekly basis if you are accepted cohort. However, for the team meetings, that's entirely dependent on your team. So if you work better, then you probably will meet once a week. However, if you want to get stuff done every single day, you can meet 5 days a week. It's entirely up to your team. And after you get to know everyone, that'll be more finalized. I answered yeah, I answered that question. How are you guys selecting the cohort? It's entirely based on the application. And we'll be having office hours. If you would like to ask any questions about your responses or how to approach these responses next week.
And
Prereqs
Ben,
for the tech cohort. Yes, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, how could our fellow friends find the application to these cohorts? Are they available to us yet?
Yes, everything is linked in our link tree. You can find it in all the platforms that we have. At the end of the slide, I can just show you the link tree if anyone wants to scan it right now. I'll just skip ahead right here. Ignore the thank you, we're not done yet, but scan this. All the applications, all the event pages are linked there. And yeah. What are some prereqs for the tech cohort? There are no prereqs. If you have lots of experience, that's great. You'll match with a team with more experience. If you don't know anything at all, that's also perfectly fine. We'll be giving you all the resources, all the office hours, and getting you up on your feet. Experience is not used as a factor in cohort application. We'll be looking at it, but it's not the defining factor. If you're new to coding, does that mean we will be learning how to code in the workshop and working on it? Does tech team want to answer these questions? Alec or Ron?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
If we're new to coding, does that mean we'll be learning how to code in the workshops and then working on personal projects?
Wait, Ben, you cut out. Can you repeat that?
Ron, it's
If
in the
we
chat as
are
well,
new
if you want to take a
to
look.
coding,
Okay, so if you're new to coding, does that mean we will be learning how to code in the workshops and the workshop? Yes. Okay, so Alec and I And the technical managers will be creating slides for you to essentially teach you whatever you need to know. The basics, to create the foundation for coding. But a lot of it is gonna be you, in the sense, I don't know about a lot of you guys, but what makes a coder is how good they can like search on the internet. So we'll teach you the basics, like, you know, the basic languages are like HTML, CSS, React, GitHub. We'll teach you all about it. That's like required for you to start anything at all. Yeah, so easy answer is that we teach you everything. I mean, we create the foundation for you. Does that mean we will be learning how to code in the workshops? But you will not be working on personal projects per se. You'll be working on the projects that we give to you, essentially. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Alec, do you have anything to add on?
I think you explained that pretty well.
Okay, we have some design related questions. Woo! Thank you everyone for asking. I really appreciate that, because your question is probably the same question that 50 other people probably have. But first, Christy asked, do we need to be artistic to be a part of design? Like, do we have to have some kind of portfolio? The answer to that is, Christy, first of all, thank you for asking that question. Second of all, you do not need to be artistic. That is a very subjective word, first of all. Anyone can really be a designer. You don't really need any formal education. You can call yourself a designer if you like to design things. You are a designer. And no, we are not looking for any specific portfolio. Just come as you are. And as Ben kind of mentioned, really try to show the best self in your written responses and the application. Also, to answer a second question, for the platform we mostly use when we design is Figma. That is because A, it is free, B, it is accessible, and C, it's just very convenient to collaborate on. But we are highly encouraging everyone who is, say, for example, you're more comfortable using Procreate or maybe Adobe Suites, then you're more than welcome to use those programs and add it to the Figma files. And I think Justin has a question for how many hours per week is expected for technical work?
I want to say to expect 5 hours a week. At least when I was on the technical team a few quarters back, that's what it seemed like for me. It was around that 5 hour mark per week. But also there's also other factors that go into how many hours you take, because some people, they like to spend a lot of time, perfecting, debugging, or, just making their code look nice overall. So that also factors into how long you take. But generally, when I was on there, it seemed about 5 hours a week. Maybe Ron, if you want to add anything to that, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess like maybe a foundation is that so last quarter we had 2 teams, we had 2 projects, and Alec and I had a meeting for like each of them. So for each of the teams. So suppose like one team is free on only Fridays, we'd have like a meeting with the entire team on Friday, but the other team would have it on Sunday. And that was a time when we'd essentially see all the progress, get a progress report sort of, and like also know what's the next step and how fast do we need to go. Yeah, I think so. You can say like that was, and besides, so that meeting, and then of course we have the entire team meeting, the entire include meeting, which happens like once a week. So you can say you can have a base of 2 hours, and yeah, but like Alex said, it depends on how fast you are. So some people like make a lot of progress within that 1 hour that we get during the meetings. Other people have to take out time with their other group members during the entire week. On a side note, Alec and I are always open for like, I think he's already mentioned it, but we're always open for like office hours. If you guys text us on Discord, we reply almost like instantly. we were willing to like hop on like a Zoom call or something just to help you out. And since it's in person, you would probably like see us like on campus. So you could just like text us and we'd be like, oh yeah, we're in the library too. And then we could just like hop by and do work with you. So yeah. So I think 5 hours is pretty accurate. Yeah, 5 to 7 hours is pretty accurate. Yeah.
Dylan also asked the question, can we go to workshops and whatnot if we aren't in the cohort? Does anyone want to take this one?
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben. You
Um,
yeah, go for it. I can
Ben?
answer Brian's question then.
I
If
can't
someone wants to
hear
go
Ben.
ahead.
Oh, okay, there he is. Hi, Ben.
Am I crystal clear now?
Yep.
Okay, so we will be having workshops, but they will not be open to the rest of the community. But we will having other events that all of you may benefit from, which includes speaker events, intern panels, having alumni come back and talk about their experiences. But if we collaborate with other organizations, we will be posting those on Facebook and our link tree. But if you're in the cohort, these educational workshops are only for the cohort. Hopefully that answered your question. So it's a little mix of
Yeah.
both. Workshops
Mhm.
for both the cohort and the community.
Ron, I
There's
also
another
see another
question.
chat question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
yeah, so Brian asks if the technical cohort is focused mainly on front end, back end. Yeah, I guess the easy answer is yes, it is focused on front end, back end, but I like to say also that there is a touch of design that you are given experience to. I think like before coming to Include, it was just about coding what is given to me. But when you interact with the other designers, especially with Christina and Nancy, you actually understand the thought process that goes behind every single change you make to the design for a website. And I think that, that fully like changes how you see coding. It's not just like a couple lines of code and that does the job. It's about what's appealing to the eye, what's appealing to the segment that you're trying to target. There are a lot of other factors. So, but I guess, yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it is focused mainly. I think I went a little too philosophical, but yeah, it is focused mainly on front end and back end.
I can also take Sarah's question. They ask, what type of projects does design team work on and what is the time commitment for the design team? So typically, if you're going to be a part of the design cohorts, you'll be working on a client-based project. So essentially what that is as it says, you will be a part of a team of designers working and designing a website that you're going to be later handing off to the tech team later on in the quarter. And you're going to be designing that based within the restrictions of what the client wants and their needs and their purpose. And you also have the option, if you don't prefer that, you can also feel free to join our Pioneer program, which is basically Nancy and I will have these prompts as well as workshops to kind of guide and aid you to really complete these personal projects on your own, just so you can really explore what you like and what you don't like. And Nancy, do you want to give any input of the time commitment for the design team?
It's like we kind of mentioned earlier, I guess. It was like what you put in is what you get out of it. So essentially, like if you put a lot of work in just to learn how to use Figma, if it's your first time, or any of the design fundamentals you learn through this cohort, it definitely bring a lot of results and growth to your design career. But I would say like generally like yeah, like 5 to 7 hours, but but really it really depends on how much time and effort you put in and the results you gain
Yeah.
back. So
Can I also add into, as we saw earlier in our slides, which we'll be sharing out in our Discord, as well as this recording, you saw within the first couple weeks, especially this quarter, it is very design heavy. So I just want y'all to be aware to just kind of allocate that time, especially in just the first few weeks, because that's really when the meat of the process and the designs are really done. So there will be design meetings that are beyond journal meetings. You're also going to be meeting with your design managers and really working with them. And then usually later on the quarter for the design team, at least, and the design cohort, it is gets a little bit easier, which is why we have later on those workshops and those office hours time. Hopefully that answers your question.
Christy, I remember seeing you at tabling. Yes, you'll be reaching out to our VP marketing for any interest in. So, if any of you are interested in marketing analytics, please PM Diego, our VP marketing, and he'll be reaching out to you about any potential opportunities that Include may have. And to reiterate, I think there are a couple questions about the workshops again. I can just talk about that. So we'll be having workshops open to both the community and the cohort, but they will be completely separate. Because these projects use these tech stacks, we use these softwares, Figma, we'll be having those specific to our projects. However, we'll be also having open workshops if any of our project teams want to step up, and directors will lead those throughout the quarter. So keep an eye out. There'll be no schedule for it, but Include will be launching those pretty soon. Let me just see any more questions. What would help candidates stand out in the application essay? Just be yourself, be honest, and pick one of the values or pillars that mean the most to you. Elaborate on it, and we'll see you for who you are, and that's enough for an application.
Do your research on Include as well. We want these people.
That's our secret. That's one thing we're gonna give you.
You know, it's
Do your
like
research.
a turn off for us if you haven't like done your research. Okay, you gotta come on. Before you go on a Tinder date, you gotta do your research on the person.
Stop. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Any other questions, everyone?
No? Well, we are all available on Discord, so please come and chat with us. PM us if you don't want to chat and ask board. We have a bunch of channels, make use of it. And yeah, email us. I include that, David, if you have any questions. Board will be staying behind to answer any more questions if you want to have more personal time with us. But yeah, that concludes our info session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, friends. We appreciate you.
Thank you all for coming.
Have a great rest of your week. We have more events this week, so please, please, please keep looking at that QR code we sent y'all and we shared with y'all. Tomorrow's gonna be a really fun one because we will be there as always, like all of the events. And we're gonna be talking about the careers in design and tech. So we're really gonna give you like an overview of what you can do and what you like with or without a degree and how Include can help with that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Have a great rest of your night, friends.
Hi, did you have any questions, Dorothy, Jenny, Shifan? Let me know if I pronounced that wrong.
Siobhan is frozen. Never mind. Now he's gone.
And there were two. Dorothy and Jenny, do y'all have any questions for us?
Hi, Jenny, thank you for coming.
Jenny and Christina were having their own info session.
What? We weren't. Maybe we were. Oh, do you have a question for us, Jenny? Oh, okay. You're more than welcome to
Yes,
just...
totally understandable.
Wow, that was so. I don't know why that broke my heart.
Do you have a question for us? No. It's okay. You can think of a question. It could be any question. It doesn't have to be Include related.
Damn, why do you gotta do us like that?
Dorothy, what about you? How we doing? Oh,
I was
there she goes.
relocating. I'm sorry.
No worries. Hi, Jenny.
Came here for moral support for Benjamin Diego, kind of.
We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Benjamin, are you walking right now?
Yes, I'm charging my laptop.
Is this still recording?
Yes, this is.
So
Do we want to stop the recording?
There's live entertainment, but thank you everyone for coming to this meeting. The recording is ending.
Woo.